Hello, everyone. Please welcome to our Kosciuszko chair. Well, please welcome to the Institute of Politics, first of all, and to the Kosciuszko Chair's Intermarium lecture series. Today's lecture will consist of two lectures by two of our speakers, Dr. Karol Sacewicz and Dr. Tomasz Gajownik. The main theme of our lecture today will be anti-communism and counterintelligence in Poland from 1918 to 1944. So from the rebirth of an independent Polish state in the wake of World War I to 1944, the re-entry of the Soviets into Poland and the swap of occupations, the imposition of communism. Dr. Sacewicz will be talking about the Home Army, the Polish Home Army and the Soviets, and Polish strategic planning from 1941 to 1944. So basically from Operation Barbarossa, the German invasion of the Soviet Union, to the Warsaw Uprising in its wake. And Dr. Tomasz Gajownik will be talking about a Spy Joust, Polish and Lithuanian interwar intelligence, counterintelligence rivalry. A little bit about the speakers. Dr. Sacewicz is a specialist in intelligence in the 20th century and intelligence in interwar Poland, the Second Republic, as it is usually referred to. He is a graduate of the University of Nicholas Copernicus in Toruń. He's the author of many articles on the subject matter. They reversed it. Okay. Sorry about that. And the other speaker is a specialist on, well, the second communism and anti-communism in the Second Republic and interwar Poland, the Polish underground versus the communists. Is that correct? Okay. And the second speaker, intelligence in 20th century, particularly in interwar Poland, and as I said, graduate of the University of Nicholas Copernicus in Toruń, and both authors have published one monograph in addition to numerous articles in their particular field of specialization. So please go ahead, Dr. Sacewicz, the floor is all yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce myself. My name is Karol Sacewicz. I and Dr. Gajownik, we work at University of Warmia in Poland, in Olsztyn, in the Institute of History and International Relationship. I research of history of 20th century, especially history of communist and anti-communist in Poland, history about Polish underground state, Polish underground press. I wrote several articles and 3 books about Polish history, about Polish Socialist Party, Communist Party of Poland, about Polish history on Polish underground state. Look at this slide. This is short list of my articles, my monography articles about Polish history. This is I and Dr. Gajownik, we arrived here because we are going to research in library in Washington, in New York, and that's all about me. And now I will go to my lecture about Polish history, lectures about the national appraising plan developed by the third department in commander Home Army and Commander-in-Chief's headquarters, national plan towards national appraising plan towards the Red Army advance into Polish territories. My lecture it's only overview. It's only brief history, brief story about relation between the government, Polish government in exile, and Home Army, and Soviet government. Ladies and gentlemen, during the Second War, the main aim of the Polish president in exile, the Polish government in exile, and the Polish armed forces in exile, and the Polish underground army in occupied Poland was to regain full sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of the Polish state. The achievement of the goal was determined not only by the defeat of the Third Reich, but also, in my opinion, by the policies exercised by the Soviet Union. Soviet Union, who was one of aggressors next to German of the Second Republic of Poland in September 1939. We have to know that until late fall, until late autumn, the Polish army continued fight not only with the German invader, also with the Soviet invader. After German's invasion of Russia on 22nd of June 1941, the Soviet Union automatically broke off its close allies with Hitler, and Moscow joined automatically joined the anti-German Great Coalition, anti-German Great Camp. In the 1941 and next years, just a moment. In the 1941 and the next years, in my opinion, until 1943, when was Allies invasion in Sicily, and until 1944, when was Alliance invasion in France, the Soviet army engaged the German forces in a series of battles that inflicted a devastating blow on the military and economic potential of the Third Reich and its allies. The Red Army continuous success gives impetus Soviet Union's expansive and very, very aggressive and very imperialistic foreign policy. After December 1941, the Soviet Union, the Soviet Moscow continued aggressive propaganda campaign which undermined Poland's rights to independence and territorial integrity in the eastern borderlands. Eastern borderlands. Wilno, Nowogródek, Lwów, Polish eastern borderlands. The Western Alliance had very soft politics towards the Russia, especially since they failed to open a second theater of war. Their soft politics is best illustrated by attitudes to Polish-Soviet relations in April 1943, when the Germans had discovered a mass grave of Polish officers murdered by the NKVD in Smolensk in 1940. And also this soft politics is best illustrated by Churchill's and Roosevelt's decision during the anti-German Great Coalition Conference in Tehran in 1943, when Churchill and Roosevelt, when they accepted violation by Stalin Poland's rights to full independence and sovereignty and territorial integrity Republic of Poland. In my opinion, the political line of the Washington administration was was very soft. This political line, not only Washington, and also Churchill, this political line made Stalin's supremacy and Stalin's political power in Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, the Red Army advance towards Polish pre-war borders was one of the key problems facing the Polish government in exile, and particularly for Polish underground state in the occupied country. The strategy to be adopted in the event of Soviet invasion, of Soviet advance into Polish territory was one of the key points of a national appraising plan developed by the 3rd Division of the General Command of the Union of Armed Struggle and the Commander-in-Chief's headquarters. The first appraising plan, Polish appraising plan, forwarded to London of February 1941. This was Operation Report number 54. This report was only anti-German appraising plan, not anti-Soviet appraising plan, only anti-German appraising plan. After on the 22nd of June 1941, Polish territory was occupied by only one aggressor. After of July 1941, after the sign of the Sikorski-Majski agreement, completely changed the initial concept of the anti-German appraising in Poland. Polish government in exile had official diplomatic relation with Soviet government, and in Russia, in Soviet Union, was organized Polish army, but 1942, the command of the Polish army in exile and home feared the military and political consequences of the Red Army invasion of Poland. On the 22nd of June 1942, General Lowecki, just a moment, General Lowecki this is General Lowecki, General Commander Home Army. On the 22nd of June 1942, General Lowecki, commander of the Home Army, forwarded report number 132, Poland's position on Russia, on our options in the Eastern territories. Report to Commander-in-Chief Headquarters, General Sikorski. This is General Sikorski, Commander-in-Chief's headquarters. This report number 132, report Poland's position on Russia and our option in the Eastern territories, is very important report. In this report, General Lowecki, General Lowecki used a few pseudonyms: Kalina, Rakon, Grot. Grot, it means bolt or pipe or dart. General Lowecki in this report number 132, wrote that, I see, Russia always has been and always will be our enemy. It's very important. And I repeat, Russia always has been and always will be our enemy. In this report number 132, wrote General Lowecki. Ladies and gentlemen, General Lowecki thus implied that the political governance would not offer real protection to Polish interests in the event the Red Army advances. General Rowecki, in this report number 132, he analyzed three hypothetical case scenarios in the Eastern Front. He described their impact on the planned uprising and ensuring threat from the Soviet armed forces. In the most pessimistic third variant, which envisaged the Soviet Army's victory over German forces and the USSR, and the Soviet Army, Red Army, advanced into Europe in the footsteps of withdrawing Nazi troops. In this report, General Rowecki was of the opinion, he expressed the opinion that an armed struggle should not be initiated against the German. General Rowecki expressed the opinion that the German occupation would be changed by Soviet occupation, would be changed by Soviet military control. In the next uprising plan, it is orientation report number 154, report developed by the General Command of the Home Army of September 1942. In this plan, in this orientation report number 154, the Soviet Union was listed in the Allies section. But General Rowecki was of the opinion that Red Army advance, Red Army invasion into Poland is another occupation, which the country, which the Home Army would not be able to resist effectively. According to General Rowecki's report of the February 1943, the outbreak of the uprising should be coordinated with the encroachment of the Russian army rather than a collapse of Germany. It's very important. According to General Rowecki reports, the outbreak of the uprising should be coordinated with the encroachment of the Russian army rather than the collapse of Germany. In 1943, in radiogram messages forwarded, General Rowecki had new purpose of Polish anti-German uprising. According to new idea, the uprising should be a series of local uprisings in Home Army districts. This is Home Army districts. Wilno region, Wilno, Wiano, Miód districts, Home Army districts, Nowogródek, Home Army districts, Polesie, and according to new idea, uprising should be a series of local uprisings in Home Army districts. In his purpose, the Home Army and all Polish underground states should be to manifest Polishness of the eastern borderlands. The local uprising concept proposed by General Rowecki was approved by the Commander-in-Chief Headquarters General Sikorski. General Sikorski wrote in a telegram of March 1943 that in the event of Red Army invasion, only civilian administration, Polish underground states, should be revealed. Ladies and gentlemen, the Soviet Union decision to one-side break of diplomatic ties with Poland was a clear sign of the Soviets' true intention towards Poland. On the 25th of April 1943, the former Soviet ally became our allies' ally. And this fact this fact had a significant bearing on emergency scenarios developed by Poland authorities. And the Polish underground states, the Polish underground states action plan in the event a Soviet invasion was based on a set of instructions forwarded by the Council of Ministers to the Home Army Commander and the government delegate at home of October 1943. In this instruction, 3 case scenarios were analyzed. The first case, rebuilding of diplomatic relation between the Polish government in exile and Soviet government, Soviet Council of People's Commissars. The second case, continued absence of Polish-Soviet diplomatic relation, and the next case, the third case, who in this instruction was analyzed, the conclusion of separate agreement between the Moscow and the Berlin. On the, ladies and gentlemen, on the 20th of November 1943, the new commander of Home Army, General Tadeusz Bur-Komorowski, this man, General Tadeusz Bur-Komorowski, sent of instruction number 1300, instruction to commanders of Home Army districts. General Tadeusz Bur-Komorowski, since July 1943, was a new commander at Home Army. Why? Because in June 1943, the Germans arrested General Rowecki. General Rowecki murdered by the Germans in August 1944 in Konzentrationslager Sachsenhausen. Then the General Komorowski on the 20th of November 1943 sent of instruction 1300, instruction to commanders of Home Army districts. This instruction was a directive line for Operation Storm. In this instruction, the General Komorowski wrote, I cite, Soviet partisan troops entering Polish territory should not be prevented from engaging in military combat with the Germans. Direct engagement with the Soviet enemy should be avoided. Polish troops that had already entered into a conflict with the enemy and therefore would be unable to repair their relation with the Soviets should be relocated. Our operation will be limited strictly to self-defense. Ladies and gentlemen, the Red Army crossed to the eastern border of the Second Republic of Poland in January 1944. In January 1940. Just a moment. In January 1944, the Polish territory was invaded by the military forces. Our ally, a hostile power, which did not maintain formal diplomatic relations with Poland, with Polish government in exile, with Polish underground states. In the fact of the Soviet offensive, in the Soviet invasion, the Polish underground state realized a directive line from instruction number 1300. The Home Army from January 1944 began the Operation Storm in district's Home Army. In the East borderlands, the Polish armed forces in country, fought against the German troops, about Wilno, about Lwów, in Wołyń, in Polesie. Wilno, Lwów, Polesie, and Wołyń. In this destruction, fought Polish troops, partisan troops, with the German troops. But always Polish troops, Polish division, Polish brigades, always were destroyed by Red Armies, by the NKWD. Thousands of Polish soldiers were arrested, murdered, and were sent out into Russia to Siberia. During Second War, ladies and gentlemen, in occupied country, in my country, in occupied Poland, was not national appraising in whole country, were only local appraising in districts, home army districts, and was a great battle in Warsaw, appraising Warsaw. But and Polish underground soldiers fought alone with two enemies. The first with the German troops and their allies, and the second enemies with the NKWD, with the Red Armies, and with the Polish communist troops. Thank you. I'm sorry for my English.
Do you have to answer questions?
Yeah, you have.
Oh.
This is probably a really basic question, but talking about the Polish home army, how many soldiers are we talking about? Are you talking about the remnants of the army that went underground after the Russians and the Germans invaded?
In home army was about 400,000 soldiers. Polish home army is very big army, 400,000 soldiers, and because Polish communist troops in occupied Poland was about 5,000 people. Home army in district Wiano had about 60,000 soldiers. In Wołyń, about 30,000 soldiers. In our country, in Poland, home army had about 400,000 soldiers.
Is that in 1939 or talking about like?
In 1944, this
1944?
yes,
Huh.
this is a big, a great army in occupied
Did
Europe.
we have the first or second biggest underground army in Europe at that time?
In this,
It seems to me that we had one of the biggest underground army in Europe.
in Europe, and home army in 1939 had about few thousand soldiers, and 1944 had 400,000 soldiers.
So the Germans and the Russians didn't totally destroy the soldiers of the Polish army. So they all scattered, and there's 400,000 in the country?
400,000, about 400,000 soldiers, but not in partisan troops, in partisan division, partisan brigades. This is an underground army, underground army.
Yeah.
And sometimes the German and the Soviet secret service destroyed Polish troops, Polish districts in occupied country. In the year in 1939 to 1941, when Polish eastern borderlands, the Soviet Union occupied, Polish underground state was destroyed. NKVD arrested about 10,000 soldiers, and in 1941 and 1942, when the German invasion of Russia and Polish territory was occupied by only one aggressor, in eastern borderlands, Home Army mass began. Sorry.
Renew itself.
Oh yes, of course. In Home Army was district, great districts who have a big troops, and this is a great district Home Army Warszawa, a great district Home Army Wilno, Nowogródek, but weak districts. What is weak districts? The weak districts is Tarnopol, it's Stanisław. Why? Because in this district, Polish Home Army fought with the German troops, with the Soviet occupied troops, and the national Ukrainian troops. In district Warsaw, Home Army had one enemy, German. In district Wilno, Nowogródek, Home Army had two enemies, Soviet partisan troops and the German troops. Involving districts and Tarnopol and Stanisławów districts, the Home Army had few enemies, the German troops, Ostlegion troops, Soviet partisan troops, and very dangerous enemy, the national Ukraine
Insurgent army, which
Yeah.
is Ukrainian Nazis.
Ukrainian Nazis troops.
So,
There was a Polish army fighting along the Soviet forces. Was there any cooperation between Polish divisions of the Polish army and the Home Army, any cooperation between them to fight the Germans together?
Home Army, the commander, the general commander Home Army, not cooperating with the German troops, but in district Wilno and Nowogródek, sometimes Polish Home Army troops sometimes had a cooperation with local districts cooperation with the German troops. Why? In Warsaw, a great danger was for Polish underground.
I am asking whether the Polish army that fought along the Soviets, together with Soviets, when they encounter Polish Home Army, did they cooperate in any way to fight against the Germans?
Cooperating with the Soviet Union,
Against the Germans.
Polish army that was together with the Soviets, did they, and when they encountered, when they came together, when they faced the
against
Home
the
Army,
German.
when they faced the Polish Home Army, Armia Krajowa, did they fight together against the Germans in any way? Did they?
Yeah, like the first, the Bering army. And,
Was there any incidents of that?
In Warsaw, the kind of uprising.
Well, yes, there were some.
Yes, of course, but
They're talking about
cooperating
the,
with the Bering's division, yes? Of course in Warsaw in September 1944, but sometimes Polish Home Army had a local cooperation with Red Army, Soviet division, involving when fought in Wilno, but always Polish troops, Polish Home Army troops were arrested and destroyed by the NKVD.
I don't want to belabor this issue, but I just wonder, were there any cases where Polish forces that fought together with the Soviets, when they came together with the Polish partisans, Polish Home Army, did they join forces together to fight against the Germans? I know that in Warsaw, during the uprising, there was an incident when the Berlin army came across Vistula and they tried to help the Warsaw uprising. But it was only in Warsaw, but in borderlands, in the east.
In borderlands, no, in my opinion, not was cooperating, but
There were no such cases. You never heard of such cases?
what with Berlin division not cooperating between Home Army and Berlin division.
No.
Not. Why? Berlin division fought only after June 1944, when the Berlin division encroachment into central Polish territory, and in eastern borderlands, Berlin division fought. Why? Because Polish first division Tadeusza Kosciuszki, Berlin division, fought in Lemino in October 1943, and was very
Very bloody. It was
very bloody, and this division in June and July 1944 fought in central Polish territory. In borderlands, not fought.
So, I have another question then. You've got a complicated problem. You know, you got 400,000 troops in Poland, and so the command and control for this is not necessarily centralized?
Polish army, Home Army is underground army, but
Right.
army.
Right.
It was a very discipline, and when commander the Home Army said you must fight, Home Army fight.
So it's a cohesive force?
Yes.
How is it organized?
Nie mam schematu. Polish underground had two
pillars.
Two pillars, political and administration pillars. It was a government in occupied country, and military pillars. It was a Home Army, the commander, General Command Home Army. Jakbym mógł narysować dwa schematy na... Just a moment,
Just 1 second, there was a board here.
Two pillars. Polish underground state, it's two pillars. Political administration pillars. One pillar, it's a government in occupied country. Government dokładnie się nazywa, government delegate at home. Government delegate at home. Government delegate at home. Political pillars, and in political pillars was underground congress, political congress. Rada Jedności Narodowej.
Oh, there was a Council of National Unity.
Oh, Council of National Unity. And the second pillar is military pillar. This is general command of the Home Army, and in Home Army was commander in districts Home Army. We have Home Army had a few several districts, 16 districts, Wilno, Nowogródek, Poznań, Śląsk, and in districts Home Army nie wiem powiedzieć, że w dystrykach były też takie same struktury jak w sztabie.
Oh,
Sorry.
and the structures within each district basically replicated on a smaller scale the ones on top. So it's hierarchical.
And Home Army, a commander, General Command Home Army had the department in organization department, secret intelligence department, in commander general command of Home Army.
So did the Home Army answer to this government pillar? that
Yes.
you need to?
Big Home Army. Home Army had was zależna.
It was dependent.
Dependent, political dependent by government in occupied country. That's all.
Any more questions? Great.
Right.
Thank you very
Sorry,
much.
very sorry for my English.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Okay, now we'll commence with the second lecture on, we'll shift back to the Second Republic and the topic of Polish and Lithuanian intelligence and counterintelligence relations.
Before I'm starting, I would like to say a few words. I don't want to waste your time by talking about myself, so I will go through straight to my topic. But for our excuses, we, with my colleague, had a very short and very busy trip to New York last 2 nights. So, you know, on Monday we just go there, and today at the morning we just arrived back. So please excuse us for our English and physical condition. If you don't mind, I would to say sit down, because I have some maps and some pictures to show you, to share with you, and it is a better way to not waste your time. Ladies and gentlemen, why military rivalry between two countries in the first decades of 20th century was very important for Poland and Lithuania? It's a very simple answer. Because both of these countries did not make official relations. There's no way to find out how second side think about our activities on interior situation and of course foreign policy. Karol, I just shut this down. Excuse me for a moment. I would like to show you, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I want to show some map. This is a map of Republic of Lithuania in the latest of 30 years. This is map from 1937, I suppose. Republic of Lithuania was a very small country, one of the smallest in Europe, and he bordered with 4 other countries. For the northeast was bordering with Republic of Latvia, with Soviet Union, on the south with Poland, on the south west with East Prussia, up, which I suppose you know it was a part of German state. I said when these two countries, Poland and Republic of Lithuania, did not make some official relations, both sides did need to search to find other ways to meet, to look after how they growing, how they functionals, and what they think, as like I said, about development of international situations in many levels, on many levels. In Polish, from Polish side, I don't know what this is. Very important date of period in our historiography was a year of 1921, when we just finished war with Bolsheviks Russia. After that, Polish army was regrouping to the field of peace, on the peace, how can I say, on the peace state. And after all, Republic of Lithuania, especially from position of Marshal Józef Piłsudski, who was in the time chief of command of Polish army and chief of the state. Lithuania was very interesting. He was very interesting in development of situation in this country. We just before this year, we just did some kind of mistake, probably from this point of view. In our century, we could say that, but not when we just going back to the this years. I'm talking about something was called as Lutzen-Żeligowski rebellion. It was a situation when in the 3 months, last 3 months of 1920, before starting the Niemen battle, the Battle of Niemen, when it was last Polish military operation against Bolsheviks, Józef Piłsudski did make some very important decision which lay down on our relationships with the Republic of Lithuania. He decided to force a part of territories of Republic Lithuania, officially Republic Lithuania, with Vilna and some district called Ziemia Wileńska. It was some kind of answer for a treaty between Republic of Lithuania and Soviet Union, Bolsheviks Russia. We did assignment on July 12 on 1920. Józef Piłsudski realized what consequences this decision should bring, but he did it. He told to one of his the best, most trusted man, General Lutzen-Żeligowski, will you go to the Vilna with soldiers? General Żeligowski, as we know today, had a lot of doubts, but at the last words he said, "Okay, I will go." And the night between 8 and 9 of October, some kind of mixed operation group just through by a demartical line, and after one day just took Vilna, and for next almost 3 weeks they were fought with Lithuanians troops. This situation did another very unmeeting situation in Europe, because we just did stay with the Republic Lithuania in a situation of no-told war. Both sides did not make some official relations. Officials, they didn't have official representatives. On the border, we just have something like some kind of border of fire. And when this situation was created, as I told you, the only way to find out what other side think about us, our political, was military intelligence activities. Why military? Because after First War, the military activities in various levels of interior and foreign life of other countries in Europe just become some leading position. I have some short news, short notes in English, so please forgive me. This one situation in Europe was changed by the we just say in Polish historiography, this is away from democratic states policy to the policy of dictators and autocritical governments. And in this situation, role of police, role of secret service, and especially in Eastern Europe, a role of military intelligence, secret services just was growing up year after year. This situation, as you will see on the map, is this is points of Polish military intelligence activities. They did focus on the main towns in the Republic of Lithuania. It's not much, as you can see on this map, but they reflectable to know everything about Polish side need too. This may be next map. Oh, this map just shows us development of Polish activities, military activities, Polish military intelligence activities on the Republic of Lithuania in years 1924 and 28. We had some kind, as you can probably know, in CIA structure they have foreign structures they name called station, yeah. And we have some kind of station in our structure in Polish military intelligence. There, of course, interior and on the other outside. This was a number of 6 stations, who had led by one man, only one man. He's called Włodzimierz Gali. He was an ex-Russian officer from the White Army, of course. I mean about differences between in Russian Civil War, when we just split up for red soldiers and white soldiers. And I show you, this is Polish office. Oh, this is a picture of Włodzimierz Gali. He built a very large network of Polish stations on Republic of Lithuania. His work did bring to us a lot of information, very important information about what Lithuanian governments fought and just prepared to do in situation of foreign policy and interior policy. He did his job so well until in 1924 he was arrested by Lithuania's counterintelligence, and I tried to looking for an answer why, what was going on that this possible was could make could bring this situation. So why the Lithuanian counterintelligence could catch him? And answer was very simple, because Polish side was very happy for his job. After he transferred a lot of files from Lithuanian side, Polish activity, Polish High Command of Military Intelligence just stopped to looking another way to find out what is going on Republic Lithuania. Just stop. Just depend on his Włodzimierz Gali activities. When they catch him, it was a huge blow. Yeah. Because we just I think about Polish. We just stopped, and we could not move forward. He was one of the most influences agent on the after Lithuanian border. Like I said, we had some kind of interior station. They called Expositura. They was placement on the most important territories on our border. One of them was placed in Vilno and called number 1. The station Expositura in Vilno was the one of the most, how can I say, arrangement in looking for many information, not only on Republic of Lithuania, by Republic of Latvia, and they focused other on the Soviet Union. These pictures, where I show you, they are some kind of chief of this station, but I can find it on the catalog. Oh, this is one of the first chief of Expositura in Vilna was Colonel Stefan Antoni Mayer. This is a great person of Polish military intelligence. In 90s, from the beginning of 30s, he was in chief of Polish section of intelligence on the all in the all influence, in the all levels and other skills. So he was responsible for every actions of Polish military intelligence from the beginning of the 30s until the start of Second World War. In my private opinion, he was a very honorable and very important person in our military lives. I just, a few years ago, from 2010, I just was starting to looking for information about this guy, because this is my some kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say so strong a word, but I want to prepare a biography of this guy. And I just was, like I said, I just was starting to look for information, and I'm not today. I'm very scared because they are laid down from New York by Europe and finally on Russia. So you know, when I think about money which I need to prepare this book, I my head just stand up. This is he was one of the first chief of this expositora. He was a chief twice, between 23-24 and 26-28. This is, of course, this is not officers which they made his function after in properly numbered, but I have a few of photos. This is Captain Olgierd Giedroyć. He was chief of Expositura Vilna in late of 30s. He was captured by Russians, but Soviets. He was put in jail in Minsk. He was tortured there and murdered. Another here, Commander Edmund Piotrowski. He was the last chief of Expositora Vilna before start of Second World War. After beginning of war, he moved to Great Britain, and from there he was sent by our High Chief Commander to Stockholm, where he built some kind of station for communication with our country. And this is Major Grubski, last chief of our intelligence duty in border protection corps. We had some kind of institution, like in the US is Coast Guard. Something like this, and they were grow in 1924, and Major Grubski, they had their own military section, so he was the last of chief this service. I talked to you a lot of Polish activities, so maybe I could tell you a few words about Lithuanian activities, because time is running fast. What can I say about Lithuanian activities? First of all, we must admit that the Republic of Lithuania was penetrating by two powerful countries, by Republic of Weimar and of course Bolsheviks Russia first and next Soviet Union. The influences of this country in Republic in Lithuania were very unpredictable almost, because for example, if we talking about activities of Lithuanian secret services, we need to know two things. First, the main of instructors for this service was what they were from Russia. They were Belarus, they were Russians. They were ex-officers of White Russian Army. After circa about 1923-24, they were moved out from the service, and their place was taken by Germans, instructors and officers. In Kovno, the capital of Republic Lithuania, German's intelligence was made one of main station which operating on the all of Eastern Europe's countries. A chief of this station was Captain Joachim Klein. I didn't find a picture, but this person seems so very interesting. From, of course, I'm talking about her duties and services. And Captain Klein was in very strictly relation with others chief of Lithuanian secret services. One of them, which was most influential and powerful, was this is. In 20s, he was lieutenant, second lieutenant, first lieutenant, after captain, major, and Stasis Roštikis. Maybe some of person who sit here could know him because he was the last chief of highest command, general staff of Lithuanian army, and after Russians driving into Republic Lithuania in 1940, he was escaped to US by Germany. He was chief of Lithuanian military secret services for 4 years, from 1926 to 1930. When I was reading documents, the picture of him became as he was liking Poland, he was liking Poles. He didn't think about us as enemies, but you know, job, you need to do his job. So he was most of a successful man in his job against us, of course. One of the earliest chiefs in Lithuanian military secret service was Captain Antanas Užupis. This man did a lot of work to lead intelligence activities against us. But he had not a powerful connection, so he couldn't break up. This is in the middle of picture, maybe I just send it, this guy. It was Lieutenant Colonel Butkiewicz. He was chief of Lithuanian counterintelligence. He had a lot of success in fight with our activities. This is Colonel Kazimieras Kazis Szkirpa. this person is very interesting when we want to meet relationships, a scale of relationships between Republic of Poland and the Republic of Lithuania. Why? Because he was a big fan of German. He was he stand twice up on the position of chief of military secret services. In 1918, when Lithuania's military services just starting to grow up, and from 6 months in 1926. After all, when part of politicians were made some kind of uprising in December of 1926, who is moved out of political life, but when we did Republic of Poland, where we just did make official relationships with the Republic of Lithuania in 1939, I think this situation is some kind of job, because he was a first representative of Republic Lithuania in Poland. And why job? No, as you can have here, he was a chief in military intelligence service against us, and after all, he was a big fan of German. We're talking about 1938. So this was very mistake. It was very mistake and very uncomfortable situation for both sides. Who just fixed up very soon, because he was a representative not long as 3 or maybe 4 months. I don't remember yet. And the last, this is some kind of piece of cake for me. Why? This is Vytautas Druskis. He's a civilian aware. He dressed civilian. But one is so important. First of all, he was the one of youngest member of Lithuanian military secret services. He just put his request on to move to duty when he was 15. I don't have this copy of documents, but in my archives I have documents when he just requested about permission to make some yes, so this is amazing. And secondary, he was the greatest agent of Lithuanian secret services in Poland. He threw out from our noses like sitting babies. So his activities was very important for Lithuania. He did create so many stations of agents in Poland, especially on the northeast. And after when he was captured by our counterintelligence, he was paid some, in English is kaucja.
Oh, bail.
No, bail, yeah, I forgot. Bail. And she moved out to the Lithuanian by green border. And after all, he was a chief of, in civilian Lithuanian secret service, he was a chief of a section of agents who their activities in Poland. And I just going to finish, and I want to show you one more thing. Maybe this is some kind of light story. This is a jail on the picture above beyond the this picture down, you can see a corridor of military jail in Kaunas. It was some kind of symbol for us because Lithuanian guards did not. Their behavior very often were not similar like regulaments, and they just very often did beat our prisoners from who they are suspected about Polish espionage. This is one picture, and this is a schema of structure of Lithuanian military secret service, which was prepared by our services in 1922. And I just, this is some pictures of Polish officers and Polish agents, but this one, maybe this one, like at last. Maybe he didn't look so well, but this is a picture as I can find in Polish documents. He was made. He was made some the most dangerous Lithuanian spy in Poland. He was a waiter in one of Polish restaurants where just came a lot of Polish officers. So you know, drinks, vodka, women, dancing. Waiter just coming around between tables and just hearing, listening about information, then preparing after his duty, preparing notes, which his courier, Aleksandra Biedzinska, took from him and delivered to the Lithuanian secret services. And this guy, Kazimierz Szumski, who was one of the biggest smuggler on the Polish-Lithuanian border, and he was helped to Żłobecki and Biedzinska through this information by the border. It is a very short overview of Polish and Lithuanian military intelligence activities. Thank you very much.
I guess if I could ask a question, why would Poles spy for the Lithuanians at this period? Like the three that you show, was it about money? Was it about revenge? What was the reason? Was it moral compromise? Or?
Both sides, Polish and Lithuanians, were used every tools which needed to capture some people to get their espionage jobs. It was the pen. Some of them they did this job because of revenge, because they have something to do to something very. They had sometimes very
A grievance?
yeah, and sometimes they have members of family which died in the time of Polish-Lithuanian conflicts. Because I didn't say, but we must remember that between 1918 and 1920, late 20, we have permanently a conflict where both sides they used guns, military equipment. We have some called something like uprising in Sejny. It is a small town in northeast Poland where we just fought with Lithuanians. So there were casualties, and sometimes people decided to involve in this situation with espionage because they needed money. Polish eastern border was settlement by very poorly people, very. Something like, for example, shoes. He was also some kind of wealthy position. When you have shoes, you are a wealthy man. And very often, between in Polish cases and Lithuanian, people did want to make some, to earn some money, especially if, for this kind of job. Sometimes it was some kind of permission. You know, for example, this guy Kazimierz Szumski, in the last of picture. It was very simple. I need to earn money. I have connection from both sides of border. I can bring to the one side the things which they needed. In reverse, the same. So I can get some. I can prepare some smugglers network. But both sides, Polish and Lithuanian, they often capture smugglers, and they took some concrete proposal. You can do your job, but we need some favor from you. You just take some documents for the other sides. You can help to lead some people to the other sides, and that was the most three of important things when we talking about reasons why people did make some information.
In 1939, when the Soviets took over Lithuania, I presume there were some Polish agents in Lithuania at the time. Did they capture any of them, and what happened to them eventually?
I can talk about one case, because I just only one know. My researching just stopped on August of 1939, so I don't through what they happened to them in next few months. But one case I could tell about one case. The guy was named Ludwik Hrynkiewicz. She died in 1992, and history is very complicated, like history of many people in this time, and living on this border. In 1947, he was a Polish military intelligence did offer to him some kind. I don't know how can I say it properly to invite. Maybe again. He was decided to cooperate with Polish military intelligence. He was not discovered by Lithuanians secret services until December of 1939, and he was a very activity member of Polish Home Army. And after Soviet Union driving in 1940, he was one of the men which they, I think about NKWD, which they captured very soon. and he was turn
He was charged.
Became a double agent.
he became a double agent. Why? Answer is very simple. Did your job as Polish spy, so you can do this for us. If you don't, a bullet in your head. But for me, it was very interesting how Soviet Union, how officers on KVD did find out, because Lithuanian did it. I don't have an answer for this, but probably we're just talking about very deeply Soviet penetration in our country for every levels, but especially when we talking about Polish diplomacy or Polish army. And we don't have documents because they lay down in, I suppose, in archives of Lubyanka, maybe even in Kremlin, in presidential archive. But it seems very properly a way that the NKVD and military intelligence, GRU, they know very much about Polish activities. Not only inside of country, but other side. But this is one case. This is one case. This guy, of course, as I said, he died in 1992, so he just threw out of his trouble. but how many people who could were captured by Soviet didn't make it? We don't know it until Russians will open their heads. But I feel this is not very.
Try to go to Moscow to do some research.
Yes, I need to. But when I was hearing about my colleague problems in Russian archives, I think this could be a waste of time, maybe of money. Yes, sir.
So, question: that intelligence war between Poles and Lithuanians in the interwar period, did the Poles and or the Lithuanians ever run any higher level agents in the Lithuanian government, the military, the Secret Service, or did the Lithuanians ever run any Poles who were in the higher levels of the Secret Service or the military or the government?
I can say something like this. If you want to compare of results, I must admit it is not some kind of our I forget in English a word. Maybe once again. If you wanted to compare of success of both sides, I must admit that Polish military intelligence was more successful than Lithuanian. We just had a bigger successful because I didn't find but names of Polish agents in Lithuania, not everyone, but we have some kind of files when you can read about their code names, and of course they what they have written about situation. And when you analyze, when you make some analysis, you could think that Polish military intelligence placed a lot of our agents in the highest levels of Lithuanian political life. including, of course, government, including army, civilian administrations, secret service. But when we focus only on the Lithuanian secret service, both civilian and military, we had the biggest successful in the earliest years of 90s. 20s, sorry, 90s, 1919 and 1920. They were years of the biggest successful in penetration of Lithuanian secret services. After that, why? Because we had a lot of agents in their structures. But Józef Piłsudski did some mistake because he wants to replace Lithuanian government who was hostile to us, and follows his orders some kind of members of Polish government, like Leon Wasilewski, Polish foreign policy minister, of the highest companions Piłsudski from legends. They follows his Józef Piłsudski orders. They prepared some kind of sorry, zamach stanu.
Oh, coup d'etat. Coup.
Coup?
Yeah.
Coup d'etat in the Republic of Lithuania. And if we want to prepare this correctly, you must need cooperation from people inside. And this situation, this step was a mistake because they had a lot of problems in communications, in the coordinations, and many members of Lithuanian civilian and military structures who hide their posts or cooperated with us just for at one moment they just to show up, and Lithuanian governments and politicians and military officials just they were very surprised how many citizens of Republic Lithuania just become Polish fans, fans of Poland. Of course, they were all arrested. It was some very showing trial. After that, they were put to the military jail in Kovno. Most of them died on the typhus and other diseases. Yes. It was last moment when we could say that Polish influence in Republic Lithuania was very, very big, and after that we just lost so many of sources there. But in 20s and 30s, when I was reading the documents, we have some samples of very high placed agents in Lithuanian structure of power. But from the Lithuanian side, they didn't have so many information. But the answer is very, very simple, because cooperation between the Republic of Lithuania and German and Soviet Union just make some attributed of cooperation, and one of them was intelligence cooperation. Many informations Lithuanian secret services got from German secret services, Soviet secret services, and members of Ukrainian national organization, especially from the south of our country. But they never had a high-level placement agent around our Polish government and something like this.
Okay.
Unlike that Germans and Soviets, unfortunately. One of our Professor Paweł Wieczorkiewicz, he died a few years ago, just said, probably after opening Russian, Soviet, or post-Soviet archives, probably we, historians in Poland, we could need to rebuild our view of our political history. And of course, write a new books of our history. But until this time, we couldn't nothing to do.
I guess we don't have any more questions. Okay, well,
Oh,
great.
sorry, I just overslept over time.
Well, that's okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your
Professor
attention.
Lecter, thank you.